Hello friends, welcome to my channel One Academy. I am Somesh Upadhyay, UPSC rank 34, IAS officer in the Odisha cadre, and this particular lecture series will be for the international relations syllabus of UPSC mains paper 2. The international relation is very important topic. 5 to 7 questions are asked every year in that paper, and if you answer them well, you will get really good marks in paper 2. A lot of people do not get good marks in paper 2 because they do not cover the international relations well. This particular series, I promise you to cover the entire syllabus of international relations with a very high quality input, and in a very short time you will be able to learn and grasp the entire international relation syllabus. This particular chapter is on principles of Indian foreign policy, and this is part 1 of the lecture. So let us understand what is foreign policy. Foreign policy is nothing but a set of principles which lays out plan of action. Plan of action for what? For diplomatic dealings with other nations, international bodies like WTO, United Nations, regional groupings like BRICS, RCEP or SARC, and multilateral organizations like IMF and other organizations. So फॉरेन पॉलिसी क्या होता है कि कोई भी कंट्री दे मेक अ पॉलिसी फॉर themselves, so that whenever they deal in an international forum with other countries, with other organizations, they must deal in a particular defined policy. Otherwise क्या होगा? There will be no coordination, there will be lack of a direction in the foreign policy of the country, and it will be confused. That is why every country sets certain foreign policy goals, and accordingly they engage with the other nations and other international forums. So this is what foreign policy is about. Next, we'll learn there are certain things that determine the foreign policy of any country. These are the factors of foreign policy of any country, and these are also called determinants of foreign policy. What are those? Most important is national interest. Any country pursues its foreign policy only because it wants to pursue its national interest. Now, national interest can be divided into two. One is core interest. Core interest are the most important part of the national interest of any country, and you see whatever the country is doing in the international arena by dealing by its diplomatic dealings, it is only doing to protect its core interests and pursue its core interests. For example, sovereignty, territorial integrity, protection of diaspora. Diaspora means people of one country who are living in another country. Economic development of the country is also one of the important core interests. Energy security, and many countries aspire for a prominent role in the world affairs. So these are the core interests of any country's foreign policy. And there are some temporary interests. For example, there is one vote coming up in UN about something. For example, if Australia has passed a resolution to investigate the coronavirus origin in China, these are temporary interests. But mind you, temporary interest कभी temporary नहीं होता है. Temporary interest is always linked to the main goal of foreign policy. The core interest से link होता है हमेशा. Second determinant of foreign policy is history. हिस्ट्री अगर आप जानते हैं, वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री अगर अच्छे से जानते हैं, इफ़ यू नो वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री वेल, you will understand international relations subject very well, because all the current status of war or peace or enmity or friendship between different countries, all of it lies in the history of those countries. You see, for example, Cold War happened after World War II. There were two different powers that emerged. One is led by USSR. It had different ideology. It was a communist ideology, communist bloc. Another was led by USA. It was capitalist bloc. So this ideological differences, it created a Cold War situation between them for a long time, and the entire world was revolving around the Cold War. So either you are with USSR bloc or you are with the USA bloc. And then India led its own another movement which was again related to Cold War. It was non-aligned movement where it formed a group of countries, like-minded countries, which wanted to develop without engaging in this war. Another example of history, you see, partition of India is the biggest reason why Pakistan exists and why our relationship with Pakistan is always is always of a hostile nature. So, so history cannot be undermined when you are discussing foreign policy. Next, geography of a country. This is another very important and interesting factor for determining foreign policy. You may have heard about the Crimean crisis. The Russia has fought so many wars to capture Crimea. Why? If you look at the geography of Russia, the eastern part has a sea opening, but that sea, that ocean, freezes during the cold. Western part has Black Sea, and the Black Sea route is important for Russia to keep its trade open throughout the year because Black Sea has warm waters. It does not freeze in cold. So that's why Russia always wants access through Black Sea for its trade. And this is why the whole issue of Crimean War has come. You see, if from Crimea you can along the Black Sea you can cross the Turkish Channel, and then you can enter the Mediterranean, and you can go to anywhere in the world and trade your goods. That's why geography becomes very important. Again, natural resources, you see why USA is creating troubles in so many different countries in the name of democracy, because they have very important natural resources called oil, and that is why US has constantly interfered in the affairs of MENA region. MENA is MENA, Middle East and North Africa. So this region is rich in oil resources, and that is why USA is interested in that part. Another example, interesting example, I'll tell you, Malacca Strait. Just go and find out in geography atlas where is Malacca Strait. It is very important, very critical for China's trade because that is the only access to the Indian Ocean, and it is very narrow, and there is heavy presence of different countries who want to keep control of that strait. If it is blocked, China will have huge losses in it. Its trade will be almost reduced to half. So Malacca Strait becomes important. So geography determines how countries engage with each other. Next determinant is culture. See, language, religion, art, films, these are all parts of culture. And if some countries are having same kind of culture, they may develop either hostility or friendship depending on the circumstances. For example, you see India and Nepal has such close culture, type of same type of people, same kind of food habits, same kind of gods, and still they have such the Nepal's attitude towards India is so hostile. It's also because the similarity in culture. That's why they want to establish a separate identity. उनको एक identity crisis हो जाती है कि हम Indian नहीं हैं, हम India से अलग हैं. ये proof करने के लिए they try to be hostile with us. So culture again becomes important part. Culture also binds. For example, Indian movies are popular in so many countries, and that's why in many countries people love the Indian culture and love India, and the opinion of people also determines how the foreign policy is pursued. Next determinant in foreign policy is polity. Polity means the political setup of that country. If it is democracy, then democracy में क्या होता है? The ruler, the government, they are always responsive to the demand of the citizen, to the interest of the citizen. For example, Pakistan, it is not a true democracy, it's a sham democracy, and military control of that country means that if we engage with Pakistani Prime Minister and try to bring friendship between the countries, the military will always spoil the situation. They will always orchestrate some terrorist attack or other, and then they will spoil the relationship between the two countries. So it is easier to deal with democratic governments. Dictatorship, again, they are very strong-headed and they do not listen to their public, and so they do not care about the general interest of the public. They mostly care about the vested interest. So the polity becomes an important determinant in foreign policy. Next is very important, it is diaspora. I already explained to you diaspora means जैसे कि Indian people they have gone and settled abroad. In USA there are very influential Indian people. In UK there are people, Indian people are everywhere. So it's called Indian diaspora, Indian people all over the world. This diaspora, if they are very influential, they form a very influential lobby, and they influence the host country जहाँ पे वो लोग रहते हैं, the country they live in, their policy towards their home country. तो यूएसए में अगर बहुत स्ट्रांग एक इंडियन लॉबी है तो वो बहुत बड़ा वोट बैंक भी है प्रेसिडेंट के लिए, तो वो इन्फ्लुएंस हमेशा करेगी कि यूएस इंडिया की तरफ लीनियंट व्यू रखे, लीनियंट पॉलिसीज बनाए. Second part of it, the diaspora, is the protection of the diaspora. Now India's responsibility becomes to protect its diaspora all over the world, and जहाँ भी इसके diaspora people of Indian origin they face problem, India raises concern with those countries to protect them and their interest. Then comes public opinion. You see, the public opinion in a country, especially in democratic countries, it determines how the country deals with other countries. If the public opinion is bad about a certain country, then the government will not dare, and I'm talking about democracies, the government will not dare to engage in closer relationship with that country because there is a public pressure there. You see, the हिंदी चीनी भाई भाई अ, हिंदी
I didn't get that. Could you?
The Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai motto in the early 1950s, it created very good public opinion in both India and China about each other countries, and we remained in a illusion that we are very good friends, and that's why India did not prepare to fight a war against China, and China suddenly attacked. So, and again, Russian friendship. If you talk about Russia, every Indian loves Russia. They have very good opinion about Russian people, and same with Russia. They love the Indian culture. They love Bollywood films, and that's how the Indian and Russian friendship has long lasted. And again, if you see Pakistan, the Pakistani the public opinion in India against Pakistan is so strong that it is difficult to enter into a friendly relationship with the country. Last but not the least is the ideology of the government. The ideology of the government is so critical that it completely changes the foreign policy of the country. You can take example of how nuclear deal was opposed when Manmohan Singh ji was the prime minister, and and the the Communist Party was supporting the UPA government, and because Communist Party is against the US imperialism, that's why they did not want India to enter into a nuclear deal with that country. And still, Manmohan Singh ji fought hard and signed the nuclear deal, but that is another matter. Then you see in some of the countries the right wing governments coming up, and they, for example, Trump, he wants America first policy, and always pushes for local jobs uh, rather than entering into a rather than allowing immigrants from foreign and take the local jobs. And in that process, what he does, he has come out of so many important international agreements like Paris Climate Change Agreement. He has pulled out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and this is how he has completely changed whatever is the previous American governments had done in that country. Why? All because of the ideology of the government. All because of the ideology of the president. There you go, America first. Next, we'll learn what are the objectives of Indian foreign policy. The objectives of Indian foreign policy are clearly laid out in Article 51 of the Constitution of India, and you can memorize this particular article because it will come very handy in all your answer writing in international relations. You can just use these keywords in this particular article and right? A very good answer based on that. So it says the state shall endeavor to A. Promote international peace and security. B. Maintain just and honorable relations between nations. C. Foster respect for international law. And you see this in all the cases. India is very uh, India is a country which respects international law very religiously. And D, encourage settlement of international disputes by arbitration. India is not a country which wants to go into a war all the time. It's not a country which is aggressor. It respects international law. It respects every nation's existence and their sovereignty. And if there is any dispute, it always asks for arbitration and mutual discussion to resolve the dispute. So these are the major objectives of Indian foreign policy, and you can just memorize these main points. Next, we will learn the principles of Indian foreign policy. These are the principles based on which India has engaged with other nations over the years. But mind you, principles do not remain constant. They keep changing depending on the policy of the prime minister or the party or the government in power. And three major influential prime ministers that have influenced India's foreign policy over time are Jawaharlal Nehru, Indra Kumar Gujral, and recently Prime Minister Modi. So, in the initial period, India's foreign policy was mostly guided by Nehruvian principles. Nehru's own affinity towards socialism and his world view, broader outlook, that all determined how India will engage with its neighbors and with other countries. So one of the important thing was anti-colonialism. Anti-colonialism, why? Because in 1947 we got freedom, and at that time even many countries in Africa and Asia and South America were still colonies of the European or American powers. And इंडिया हैज़ सफ़र्ड सो मच इन 200 ईयर्स. इतना सफ़र किया हम लोगों ने कि हमारा पॉलिसी था कि इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में वी विल ऑलवेज एडवोकेट एंटी colonialism. इफ देर इज़ अनदर कंट्री विच इज़ अंडर colonial power, we will voice against the occupation of those countries. Then second most important principle was equal sovereignty. Equal sovereignty means all nations are equal regardless of how small or how big they are, regardless of how strong their economy is or how poor their economy is, and regardless of how strong military power they have or whether they don't have any military power. We believe all nations are equal and they have equal sovereignty. Third important principle is non-aligned. So this was Nehruvian principle, mind you. When after the World War II, there was Cold War era and communist versus capitalist bloc. And this whole Cold War started between USSR and USA. At that time, India believed that we should not side with any other country. We have just come out of uh, uh, very long period of oppression by colonial powers, and Nehru believed that this Cold War is nothing but struggle between two colonial powers who want to capture the world, and that's why we should not take any side and we should not enter into any war. We have to be in peace with each other, and we have to develop in peace without taking sides. So he started this non-aligned movement, and non-aligned was one of the most important principles of Indian foreign policy. Then we come to Panchshil of Nehru. Panchshil is nothing but set of 5 principles which were given by Jawaharlal Nehru, and it originated in India and China's agreement, the friendship agreement, which we will discuss later on. And this set of five principles includes mutual respect for each other and non-aggression, territorial recognizing each other's territorial integrity. So this set of 5 principles, we'll do a separate lecture on both Panchshil of Nehru and also Gujral Doctrine, which was given by Prime Minister Indra Kumar Gujral, and primarily to guide how we engage with our immediate neighbors in the South Asia. We will discuss that in the separate lecture together. And then in the recent era, we see how Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his government has changed a lot of changed the way how we engage in the world, and these are called the new features of Indian foreign policy. And all these three, Panchshil, Gujarat Doctrine, and new features of Indian foreign policy, will be discussed in the next lecture. Till then, I will request you to just click on the link in the description where the notes is available for this particular lecture, and please like, share and subscribe. And if we reach 500 subscribers, we will again post the next lecture in the series. Thank you so much.